All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and as you see by the title of this video, it is regarding the newly released Acura TLX and the Type S, actually. So it's not just a Type S that got released, there's like a whole nother new generation of TLX that's also been revealed. So we're going to talk about that while we sit in this 2016 Acura TLX. It's actually one of our family vehicles. I already did a review on this. I already made like a what you should know before buying type of video as well. So if you want to check that out, the video links will be down in the description box below. So a little disclaimer, I really like the Acura TLX, even this current one, which got a lot of flack. If you go back and watch my reviews I did on this vehicle, I really enjoy driving this car. This is actually a straight up base model 4-cylinder, not even the all-wheel drive version of it. There's a new generation of super handling all-wheel drive that just got released, the 4th gen for the new TLX, and we're going to touch on that. Even the super handling all-wheel drive has always been amazing. This car doesn't have it, but it has like that rear-wheel drive that rear wheel steering function, and I absolutely love that. I mean, it just feels so nimble, and it's just, this particular car is so quiet and it's just so comfortable and plush, so I really appreciate that. But let's take a look at this newly released TLX as well as its Type S reveal as well. So a couple of key things about this TLX. It's actually going to be very similar to the RDX, the new one that got released in 2019. So it kind of utilizes that same turbo 4-cylinder that you kind of see. It's like derived from that Civic Type R. A lot of Honda fanboys are very, very passionate about that. So that engine produces about 272 horsepower, 280 pounds-feet of torque. It's made it to that 10-speed automatic. So I've heard great things about this powertrain, so no real issues there. Obviously, it's going to make a lot more power than this 4-cylinder. It's going to replace this 4-cylinder, obviously. And I did like this motor. It's just a regular 4-cylinder, but like it rings out beautifully. Has a nice VTEC tone when you get past that 5,000 RPM. It's really cool. I really do appreciate it. But this is going to be obviously far more powerful, and Honda knows how to make a good motor. I'll give them that. Even when they do go turbocharging or whatever, it's going to be a good feeling motor. I've heard it's been very linear, but again, I would like to try this out when it comes out. But the most important changes came with the kind of chassis and the suspension architecture. So this particular TLX uses the McPherson front strut, so kind of a basic, kind of a budget-based suspension setup. I previously owned the 2010 TSX, and that car was an absolute joy to drive. That car was one of the last Acura products to, well, it wasn't the last, I'm sorry. It utilized the double wishbone suspension architecture, and I've also driven the 2020 Acura RLX, and that car also utilized a double wishbone suspension. What I noticed when I drove that car was like a superior version of this in pretty much every way. Like it rode better, it handled a bit better, it just felt tighter, more precise, and I think we're going to see that here, but just taken to another level, even on top of the 2020 RLX, because if you didn't already know, they stopped making the new RLX. And honestly, I was a bit sad when I heard that. However, after I saw this new TLX get released, I was just like, okay, makes sense. The new TLX, they made it a little bit longer, a little bit wider, and it's got a little bit of a lower overhang type of thing going on. So far more aggressive, far more sportier looking. It's just little incremental changes, but it makes a big difference on a car. So yeah, there's no need for an RLX anymore with this new TLX being out. Still, of course, going to be a front-wheel drive based vehicle, but this new TLX is going to use that double wishbone suspension. So it's great to see Acura putting in the money to making this car great again, because that was one of the things. Yeah, they were always front-wheel drive based, similar to an Audi, but they always had a great suspension architecture. I drove the 1st gen TSX, I owned the 2nd gen, it was amazing. I love driving those cars. Another thing with that double wishbone is going to help it sit a little bit lower, as we saw, and it's also going to help it ride better. It's going to just lower the center of gravity, make it drive better. It's just so many great things. And it's still going to utilize that multi-link in the rear, of course. Now the body structure, it's going to be like one of the stiffest chassis that they've ever produced. So a lot more aluminum being used, high strength steels, all that good stuff. So it's going to be a very rigid vehicle to drive. That's going to help out a lot, because I do like driving this car, but this car essentially, if it had a better chassis, it's going to be great. And I did drive the A-Spec version of the TLX as well, a 2018 I believe, and had the V6. Loved the V6. Obviously there's not going to be a V6 anymore, that naturally aspirated. It was such a honey of a motor, but it's going to be replaced with the Type S, obviously a twin turbocharged V6 engine. No specifications have been released yet, but I'll make an update video when it does. Now there will be an A-Spec model, but it's going to be pretty much just like an appearance package this time around. However, the Type S is going to enhance the looks even more, but it's going to it's going to be like a completely transformed vehicle. And they haven't released much information about the Type S. However, I'm assuming it's going to be about 50 racks, and I think that figure will be justified if it has, like, 400 horsepower. And as long as the dealerships don't mark this thing up or anything stupid like that, I think it should be pretty solid. And we're going to be seeing the 4th generation of the super handling all-wheel drive as well, so it's actually going to be able to send 70% of the power to the rear wheels, and that's great. That's like 40% more than it used to. And also it's going to be able to send the power to whichever wheel needs the traction more, like 30% faster than the previous generation all-wheel drive. So this is going to be really good. It's going to be really proper. However, some of the things that did kind of annoy me when I read the press releases were, it's going to use a lot of the drive-by-wire stuff, like for the throttle, for, brake-by-wire type of technology. And that's the type of new age technology that just kills the emotion and the feel of new cars. Now, a lot of the Acura engineers, the designers, are like, oh, we want to inject the emotion again. And from an exterior standpoint, and from a lot of the other things that they've said, it doesn't seem like they're just BSing around. This really looks like a quality product, especially, starting price of, mid $30,000. It's going to be great. And I've even said this before, even compared to something like an ES, the Acuras have always been very engaging to drive. And I'm sure this will continue that, but hopefully, they calibrated this correctly. Some people have said they didn't really like the Acura NSX, the new one, because it utilized all this, this brake-by-wire technology and all that good stuff. It wasn't a very emotion-filled experience, so hopefully they calibrate a little bit better. This car is using some of that NSX technology here, so hopefully they're going to do a better job here. I really want to like this car the same way I like this TLX, the one I'm sitting in. I recommend this as like a first car to a lot of people, either leasing this really cheaply or to get this car certified pre-owned. I've always saw this as a great value proposition. Now, looks-wise, this Acura looks legit. Not quite the same as like the concept version, but it still looks very hands-on. I mean, I still like the way the TLX looks right now. So I do like that, and it's going to be riding on 18-inch wheels as standard now. No more 17s like you see here, which is going to be fine because they're obviously going to refine the ride quality even more. So that's pretty good. I like the way that this rides as is. But then there's going to be 19s on offer, and then there's going to be 20-inch wheels on offer as well for the Type S, of course, and that's going to be running on some summer tires as well. It's going to provide a lot of grip, apparently, is what they're saying. Now, a big thing that a lot of you wanted to see change was the interior, and they did update the interior, of course. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't super blown away by it. It's obviously a lot better than this, so that's good. They're trying to use some more of the, the real natural woods and all that stuff, and the Milano leathers. The design isn't mind-blowing, but, it does look clean. I do like it. Some physical buttons, I did see that as well. Similar to the new RDX again, I guess. And it does utilize a new 10.2-inch infotainment screen that you kind of, you play around with it, like with the mouse. I mean, again, similar to the RDX. And I'm sure this thing is going to offer, the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. I'm sure it's going to have all that good stuff as well. It's going to be nice. I'm sure it's going to be plush. They're working on the comfort aspect of it, the ergonomics. They're saying like, it's going to have like the best in class front headroom, legroom, all that good stuff. So that's good. And obviously, it being a longer vehicle, it's going to have even more space in the rear for passengers. This is already pretty good as is. So that's going to be a nice little touch there. The trunk seemed to be a good size as well. You can put down the seats as well, like 60-40 split. Obviously, it's going to come with all the latest, safety technology and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a brief look at the newly released TLX Type S. I mean, hopefully this video is a little bit different from all the other people who made the exact same video. This at least came from the owner of a TLX who's had extensive experience with the TLX. They're good cars. They're solid vehicles. I enjoy driving them quite a lot. And I have recommended this to people. It's a nice little cheap certified pre-owned car you can get. They lease out really well, primarily because the new TLX is going to come out. But yeah, it's a nice little car to take advantage of. You don't look like a jerk off when you pull up in it. People take you seriously. It's a nice, prestigious look and feel that this car has. It might not be the best choice out there. It's not the best car in the world, but it's efficient, it's economical, it's decently reliable, it's quiet and comfortable. What a luxury car needs to do, and this new TLX seems to be building upon that. I'm really excited to drive it, especially like the more base model versions, for the mid $30,000 range. That's going to be good, and I'm excited for the Type S. My only gripe with it is I hope it's going to sound good. I saw a little teaser of it. Sounds like they kind of piped in some, audio noise, like they edited in some, audio sounds, but hopefully it sounds good. That's my biggest thing. These turbo motors, they always sound like vacuum cleaners. They sound like nothing. So hopefully Honda, Acura, they know how to make a good engine, so hopefully they fix that. Hopefully they can make it sound good. But I'm excited for it. At least they're making enthusiast type vehicles. Hopefully they didn't ruin it with the drive-by-wire tech nonsense. Again, they look good. They seem to have good performance on paper. So something to be excited for. It's a relatively affordable car. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. I mean, do you plan on buying that car? I would like to hear that as well. So, but yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Please take care and goodbye.